two significant documents have recently come to light. The first, being called the Karn conspiracy document, postulates that the attempted assassination of the Lord President might have been deliberately a set-up, involving Lord Mirraflex, the Lord President himself, and Lady Judy of Olyesti. The second, known as the Mirraflex Memorandum, postulates quite a different theory. We take a look at these two documents, and also talk to Lady April Cole of House Arcalian, and Lady Judy, Governor of Olyesti, and Cardinal of the Olyesti Pridonians, about these two documents. We did ask the Lord President for a response to them, but he declined the opportunity to appear. First of these documents is the Karn conspiracy document, released by Lady Karma, Lord Cardinal of the Pridonians of Karn. You can read the document in full on the NGPR website, but we have highlighted some key areas for this discussion.
It is true that Lord Abbot was a former member of the Pridonian chapter of New Gallifrey, now exiled for this very crime, and our suspicions as to his motive. It is also known that he was a former soldier, and the details of his past life are hard to come by, other than that he was in possession of a firearm apparently able to evade Panopticon security scans. It is also known that Lord Abbot was a person of great value to Lord President Sen. As a matter of public record, the Lord President's previous regeneration, at the same time as that of our own High Cardinal, occurred after an incident aboard Lord Abbot's most unusually advanced TT capsule, in which Lord Sen risked the personal safety of the greater part of the Inner Council in order to retrieve Lord Abbot and his unclassified vessel from being acquired by Daleks. Now, such a person, a highly trained killer, considered valuable enough by the Lord President to risk everything to retrieve, considered too valuable to dispense with, even after his, Lord Abbot's, actions had directly claimed one of the Lord President's former lives. Now he chooses, at the end of a council meeting, following a vote that had gone in favor of the house he purported to represent, to assassinate the very man who had spoken in our defense and argued for leniency, reason, and a third way throughout the entire meeting. Now we learn that the victim of this assassination is to be replaced by the very Judy of Olyesti whose growing influence Pridon has protested, and for our attempts to avoid her control have been indicted on the ludicrous charge of high treason.
The document goes on to expand on the idea of a conspiracy theory, referencing the footage that was shot at the key meeting of the High Council.
Lord Abbot had, prior to the meeting, notified the Pridonian Council that, should we be betrayed and forced to flee for our lives, he would send a coded signal to cue us to activate time rings to escape, whilst engineering a distraction. This should hardly strike anyone as heinous, and all should understand that in practice this is not what occurred. Lord Abbot, however, was prepared. Study the secure cam records of the Panopticon during these tragic events. They have been shown in the media often enough in recent days. Watch closely what happens. Watch very closely. Lord Abbot rises. Subcastellan Ryler of Olyesti stands almost directly behind him, and yet makes no effort to intervene, even when Lord Abbot draws a pistol from his robes. He remains hovering over the shoulders of Cardinal Karma and Ordinal Thursday, as if ready to prevent any intervention to thwart the shot. Lord Abbot opens fire on the Lord Chancellor. Subcastellan Ryler immediately rushes away from the obvious assailant, toward the victim at the head of the table, allowing Lord Abbot to escape unhindered. We are all too familiar with the moments and the state of affairs that follow. By Lord Abbot's premeditated murder, a Lord Chancellor opposed to Sen's actions is shot down, leading to his departure from office, to be replaced by the Lady of Olyesti. and our house, opponents to Olyesti's rise to dominance, are branded criminals and murderers. A number of the councillors after the meeting, hot with natural anger at the atrocity of Lord Sputnik's assassination, calling for our deaths. It is plain that Abbot was a murderer and assassin of considerable value to Sen, that Olyesti's castellan, an Olyesti Pridonian subordinate to Lady Judy herself, chose for reasons unproven not to intervene in the assassination. The means, motive, and opportunity are clear enough. Ask yourselves, what reason had Lady Karma to order the assassination of Lord Sputnik, to unfetter, as it has done, the wrath of Sen of Patrax and the ambition of Judy of Olyesti? None. Ask yourselves, what reason had Sen of Patrax and Judy of Olyesti to order the attempted assassination of Lord Sputnik? See the paragraph directly ahead, unchanged, save for the last word. What reason? All.
The charge made against Lady Judy is a grave one, and the documents contain serious threats against members of the High Council.
Do not make the mistake of assuming that this footage was revealed to you as a threat, High Councillors. It was not addressed to you at all. It was revealed to the people of New Gallifrey, of all houses, chapters, and colleges, a far more worthwhile body, who listen with their ears rather than their titles. The message was not a threat. It was a promise. When you are ready for this conspiracy to end, this slow and insidious centralization of power, Karn will be there to help you. This planet is now a closed world to the High Council and their agents. A warning, we shall not willingly wage war against the people of Gallifrey, our kin, but we shall defend ourselves and our borders, and the authority of the formerly democratic government of New Gallifrey is not recognized over this world. In the light of the clear threats made by Sen of Patrax, we regret to inform you that for the safety of our people, should he, his castellan, or any of their agents, including, and perhaps especially, the multiple traitor Abbot of Mirraflex, they will be shot on sight.
You can read the document in full on the NGPR website. The second document purports to come from Lord David Abbot Mirraflex, the formerly respected ordinal of the New Gallifrey chapter of House Prydon, and now a fugitive from those seeking justice for the attempted assassination. This document was delivered to us by mysterious means, and as yet we have not been able to ascertain whether it did indeed come from Lord David Abbot Mirraflex. In this document, he too claims that the events at the High Council were part of a conspiracy.
The plan was shaky to start with, I admit, and relied too much on Sen playing his part, although other knows I've risked worse in the past. But with recent events I had a slowly growing bad feeling about things, and that saved my neck too often to ignore. There was waffle, point, counterpoint, some sniping, the expected performance. The vote was close, nice and tense, just right. The Lord Chancellor put in a beautiful defence too. And that's where Sen went off the rails. The Ordinal was briefed on procedure, and the rest knew to run if things went wrong, so the question was down to making the hole for us to run through. The sub-Castellan watching us from the back was off balance, not expecting a big play, and as Sen started in on sentencing, it was just a matter of how he was going to move. First part was right on the money. Get us out from under the council's eyes so we could move forward. The rest of it? No. He was supposed to go after Karma as cardinal and me as mouthpiece, but instead he was taking out the entire chapter.
His most surprising claim is that he deliberately set out to destroy not the Lord President, but the Lord Chancellor, Lord Sputnik.
See, here's the thing. Sen's got a great mouth on him and does the standing up front thing very nicely, But he's not the brains of the operation. That's the Chancellor. Engineered to be the brains and way smarter than the chariot. Two things were pretty solid assumptions, that screwing us was part of a larger plan, and that plan had been laid out by Sputnik. And there indeed he was, standing right in my line. One good turn deserves another, Sen. Have a corporate lobotomy. Karma gave the order to pull out, and as the chapter winked out, it was time to do the deed. I've already seen the news claim that I was shooting at Sen, but seriously, what kind of ham-fisted moron would have missed him from that range? We were ready to play our part and give Sen exactly what he wanted, but when he came to making good on his word, he decided he'd rather screw us than play it straight.
Once again, the full text of this document can be found on our blog. I'm now joined by Lady April Cole of House Arcalian to discuss these two rather disturbing documents. I'd like to start by asking you, Lady April, how convinced you are by the arguments in these documents. Let's start with the Karn conspiracy document, as that seems to have the more definite provenance.
I think what we've got here is a dethroned cardinal who is trying desperately to reassure themselves that they still have relevance in our society. It's very silly that what they're saying, that we've brought back Karn and we're going to run that as our new area and you're not allowed in. It feels an awful lot like children who are saying, oh, I'm going to build my own treehouse and you're not invited. It smacks of an attempt to reassure themselves that they still have a place. And the fact is that, yeah, they may have found somewhere that looks a bit like Karn. Perhaps it actually is Karn. And it's true that it got brought through from the other universe. Although what I actually saw with the footage that we saw was a very extravagant light show and then walking out onto a world that could be anywhere. But what I think is something that they've totally missed in all of this is that they've just told us exactly where they are, even though they know that we're hunting them to bring them to justice, which seems a bit silly.
Now, what about the Mirraflex memorandum? First of all, do we think that it's genuine?
I think it probably is genuine. Having read through it a few times, it does sound an awful lot like Lord Mirraflex's writing. However, I wouldn't say it's an accurate transcript about what happened.
And what do we think of the central charge of this, that his intention was to attack and destroy the Lord Chancellor rather than the Lord President?
He may well have had that intention. As it says in the document, he was at very close range. To have missed the Lord President, who is quite a large person, at that range, it's not likely for an agent of his skill. So he probably was actually aiming for the Lord Chancellor.
And what do you think about his motives for doing that, that this would be destroying the brains of the operation?
I wouldn't like to be one who suggests that the Lord President is brainless. I think the Lord President is a very smart person. Perhaps he has listened an awful lot to the Lord Chancellor in the past, but to say that the Lord Chancellor is the brains of the outfit, it smacks of attempting to insult the person who's cast him out of society and is now wanting him dead.
Now, both these documents are alleging that one way or another the Lord President was deeply involved in the conspiracy. Do you find this at all plausible, especially in the light of the fact that the Lord President has chosen not to comment on the Mirraflex memorandum, or indeed on the Karn conspiracy document?
I think that his silence is going to make people wonder just what his involvement was, whether he was involved or not. Personally, having seen him in action before, I wouldn't be surprised if he is deeply involved in whatever's going on. And in fact, as Lord President, I would expect him to have more knowledge than he's giving out. But I think an awful lot of people are going to make up their own mind one way or the other, regardless of what the truth actually is.
Thank you, Lady April. I'm sure that this is a topic that will be much discussed over the coming weeks. And I'm joined now by Lady Judy, Governor of Olyesti and Cardinal of the Olyesti Pridonians. Lady Judy, if I could begin by asking your opinion on the Karn conspiracy theory, which seems to be suggesting that you were acting in collusion with Lord Mirraflex, and possibly with the Lord President too, in the attempted assassination of the Lord Chancellor, in order that you could take over his role. What is your response to this allegation?
Well, in my opinion, it's their last-ditch effort to create division amongst the chapters. And they're trying to take the focus off of them and put it back on us, because that's what they wanted to do. They want to divide our groups. They want to create alliances on their end and create suspicion on our end so they can, again, achieve power. If you look over her last letter on all her demands, we as Olyesti on the High Council was offered the seat. We never demanded anything, and in my opinion, it's just a conspiracy on their part to create an issue. As soon as this issue happened with David Abbott, we went looking for him right away. Bob Ryler, our Castellan for Olyesti, attempted to stop him from leaving, and it's just a false statement that they're just putting out there because they pretty much backed themselves in a corner and they have nowhere else to go.
And now we have the purported Mirraflex memorandum suggesting that the target of the assassination attempt was always the Lord Chancellor, and that before that the Lord President had been acting in collusion with the Pridonians of New Gallifrey. And do you find these arguments indeed, this whole document, do you find it convincing?
Well, from the way it's written, it doesn't seem to be written by someone with organized thoughts. I'm thinking that something's wrong on that end, and from what I understand, you said that Sen would not comment on the letter. I don't blame him for not commenting on it. We really need to sit down and go through this letter and really look for messages and clues to what their next plan is going to be, because I have a feeling that this message wasn't just black and white, that there is a gray area and other meaning behind it.
Lady Judy, thank you for talking to me this evening.
You're welcome, and it was great talking to you again.
Stay tuned to NGPR, your news service for New Gallifrey.